Hi guys, Alex here. Welcome back to Girl Talk. I've got a little bit of mess and a little bit of drama today for you guys. For today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about Weezy. If you spend a lot of time on social media, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, you can admit it, I spend an ungodly amount of time on those apps. It's honestly a problem at this point. But like, comment, subscribe. If you spend a lot of time on social media, you've probably come across Weezy. She has really turned into a living meme in the recent months. So who in the world is Weezy and where did she come from? She basically skyrocketed to internet infamy overnight and achieved notoriety that people work for years and never achieve. But being in the public eye certainly comes with some downsides, and the reaction has been absolutely brutal. Weezy, also known as Ali Lopez, is most known for her appearance on the Whatever podcast. She was on their April 25th episode. This podcast, how do I explain it? So it's run by this guy named Brian. Basic Brian over there has cultivated quite the following, appealing to that sort of sexist incel crowd. The point of the podcast is to make young women look dumb. He'll invite a bunch of OF girlies and they discuss modern dating, gender roles in society today. He basically sets them up and then creates these outrageous scenarios that can be clipped for the ultimate clickbait. Whenever you're asking people to rate themselves or anyone else for that matter out of 10, to me that's automatically a red flag. And we see that all the time on like YouTube shorts when I'm scrolling through.
Where do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say like a 7.
Yo, rate yourself 1 through 10.
What would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
Rate his ass out of 10.
What would you rate this guy out of 10? What would you rate this girl out of 10? I honestly thought we were past that as a society, but I guess not. Here you have pretty much the same headline from Vice and the New York Post. Making women look dumb is a disturbing new podcast trend from the New York Post. And from Vice, the latest trend in podcasts is making women look dumb. The Whatever podcast is bait. You can stop falling for it. I just thought it was really interesting to see pretty much the exact same headline from these two publications. So you might be wondering, why would anyone go on this podcast to begin with? Well, according to a frequent guest named Nicole, it's all about the numbers. And this is pretty much what I was expecting, right? The good old no publicity is bad publicity. Nicole admits while the framing of her appearance was negative, she received a lot of support from her peers in her industry, as well as a bump in her followers. The girls had her back. It also comes down to the fact that they're paying these guests, but still you have to wonder if it's worth it. It seems like instead of having a productive conversation so men can better understand women and so women can better understand men, which I guess would have been the initial goal of the podcast, it never was. Let's be real here, right? Well, it has devolved for sure. The podcast serves more to validate men, specifically young men, in their sexist belief and place all the blame on modern day women. It feels like they're offering cope to these guys. And it's a formula that definitely works for them. I mean, the audience eats it right up. Sometimes they'll have like a traditional wife on and it'll be like trad wife versus OF girl. And it's the same problem that I see with modern day media. The focus is always on the fringe because that's what people are most likely to click on. It's almost like a cycle. Look at this outrageous opinion that this teenager posted on TikTok as if it's even relevant. Oh, those Gen Z, what's wrong with them? At the beginning of the show, they go around the table, everyone introduces themselves, and here's what Weezy says.
Tell us your name, age, and occupation. Go ahead.
I'm Allie, but I'm known for Al Weezy. I'm 23 years old from Arizona, and I'm your certified bad bitch.
You're,
A certified baddie.
So Allie is 24 years old from Tucson, Arizona, and her occupation is a certified bad bitch. But for real, last I saw, she was working at Metro PCS. So for her, being a certified baddie means someone who is confident in themselves and does what she wants for herself, nobody else. It's a level of confidence and vibes. Certified baddie, is that like the Bad Girls Club? I run LA. Allie talks about her dating woes on the podcast, specifically being in a never-ending talking stage with her man. He doesn't want to commit, and that she's never had a boyfriend. I do have to wonder, right, these guys doing these dating advice, manosphere podcasts, how's their dating life? Is it perfect? What qualifies them to give advice to their audience or to these women? Anyone can have a podcast these days. I think it's safe to say that they invited her on the podcast to make fun of her, but she was pretty chill, talking about dating as a trans woman and the difficulties she has. And she admits that she has to disclose that because if she didn't, it could be a safety issue. And I respect that. She admits she doesn't want to waste her time with someone who can't accept that. At one point, they go around the table asking the guests to rate themselves out of 10, which is already like ridiculous. How are you supposed to answer that?
A fat fucking 10.
a fat 10.
I said what I said, and I meant what I said.
I do wonder if part of this is her playing a character on the internet. How much of this is the real Allie and how much is this certified baddie character? I wouldn't be surprised if creating this Weezy character for her was almost a way for her to cope with all of the negativity. Because if you go to her comments, it's not pretty. If she can rationalize that they're responding to Weezy, the character, and not specifically to her, I could see that being a coping mechanism and how she deals with all of this. They veer into like fat acceptance on the podcast and plastic surgery. Allie sees people getting all these procedures and wants to make sure they do it for themselves and not for like men.
And like, I just wish that that small percentage of girls be like, nah, like you're a baddie already. If you want to go ahead and do something for yourself, BBL, whatever, I'm all for it. But don't do it out of the validation for like a man. Do it for yourself.
I agree.
Because of a trend.
I
Exactly.
agree.
After the Whatever podcast, Allie shot to internet fame overnight. People wanted to have her on their show. So I saw this clip from a streamer called Aiden Ross, who is best described as a Twitch F-boy. This had to be one of the most disgusting quote unquote interviews I have ever seen. He starts by asking her how much she weighs right off the bat. And then it goes right into this guy screaming at her, calling her a hippo.
Hey, you hippo, can I see an outfit of the day?
Neon, hold on. You don't see what she's wearing? She's wearing a tank top, Neon.
And that was honestly one of the tamer comments. It got much worse than that. I don't know how Allie was able to keep her composure, having this weird version scream at her. Like, am I missing something? Is this supposed to be funny? Is this just like a joke? Because it went way too far. Allie stands strong during the interview, saying that she doesn't give a crap about people like this and the haters are paying the bills, y'all know, like that kind of thing.
At the end of the day, you know what? I'm going to be 100% real. It's like these with these opinions that I genuinely don't give a about. Like, they don't affect my day-to-day life. I know in my head I'm the fucking baddest. And guess what? It's motherfuckers like you who pay my bills.
And then things go off the rails. This guy's literally screaming at her that she should unlove herself and that she deserves to be stoned just for being who she is. And it really was this clip that shifted my opinion. Nobody deserves that kind of abuse. And for what? They paid her to humiliate her. You know, you can have your debates, have your disagreements, but this was just ugly. I found another podcast that she went on. This one was called the Vision Podcast, which was much better. The guy was respectful. They had a decent conversation. I thought it was good. Allie addresses the memes and she seems to be handling it pretty well, laughing about being in her bag and touches lightly on having some sort of project going on in LA. There seems to be some big things in her future. She addresses how she came to being on the Whatever podcast. She says she didn't know exactly what she was getting into until after she said yes and the check was signed. Allie knew going in that this was going to be a crap show and she had to brace herself. Although she doesn't have any problems with the host, Brian, she was upset with some of the co-hosts and she thinks they didn't give her respect and they were talking down to her on the podcast. It was a learning lesson for sure. As of her most recent TikTok post, Allie has actually parlayed her notoriety and is hosting events at clubs in Tucson. She's basically a local celebrity now. A lot of her TikToks are her going out with friends to the club, having fun, really living that baddie lifestyle. So let's get down to some hard truths. I do worry that Allie is a bit delusional. I hate this culture of rating yourself out of 10, but I do think if you put yourself out of 10, you're basically saying that there's no room for improvement, right? And I firmly believe that everybody has room to improve themselves, whether that be personally, socially, whatever. But I also think that for Allie, she is playing a little bit of a character too, and she knows how to get attention. But the more I watch of her, the more she has me on her side. And I think that people see her being full of confidence, being herself, and they automatically want to tear her down. She's funny. She's living her best life. I can't be mad at that. All right, you guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you heard of Weezy, TikTok's certified baddie? Have you heard of this Whatever podcast? I have to say it's not all bad because I like hearing from the women. I mean, the women are definitely the star of the show there. Although I do feel like they're being used to create these outrageous clips. It's definitely interesting to listen to. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I will, of course, catch you guys in the next one. All right, bye, guys.